Once upon a time, in a village nestled near a network of caves in Obunike, there lived a woman called Anene. She was a single parent. Her husband, Dibia, had left her after the birth of their son, saying he was not ready to be a father. He had told Anene right from the beginning that he did not want children, and she thought that his decision would change with time. When they found out Anene was with child, their relationship crashed. They quarreled almost every day, and most days he would not return home. After the baby was born, he finally packed his belongings and left. Anene tried to beg him not to leave her, even promising that she was never getting pregnant again. But that did not stop him. After Dibia left, Anene cried for days. She wondered how she was going to raise a baby all by herself. Days turned into weeks, and her husband did not return. When her baby turned 5 months, she made up her mind not to bother herself anymore. Instead, concentrate on raising her child. Anene had always thought that her baby Ikechi was special. His eyes held a wisdom beyond his tender age, and his laughter seemed to ripple through the air like a secret melody. But nothing prepared her for the day she discovered Ikechi's extraordinary ability. It was a hot afternoon, the sun hanging low in the sky, casting long shadows across the room. Anene sat on her bed, breastfeeding her baby. A very colorful butterfly flew into the room through the open window. Then she noticed that as her baby caught sight of the butterfly, his tiny head began to turn. His gaze fixed on the butterfly as it circled the room until it completed a full circle. In fear, Anene dropped the baby on the bed as she exclaimed, Chimo! At the same time, she moved away from the baby. Ikechi stared at her and his head rotated again, this time with an eerie grace. Anene's mind raced. What was this? A curse? A blessing? Or something far more mysterious? She sought answers from the village elders who gathered under a tree. They murmured in hushed tones as their eyes darted from Anene to Ikechi. The eldest among them, Mama Ezinwa, leaned on her cane and spoke. Mwam, she said, your son possesses the gift of the Ogbanje. Anene's heart pounded. The Ogbanje, the mischievous spirits who toyed with mortal lives. They were known to inhabit the bodies of newborn, causing illness and death. But Ikechi was healthy, more than healthy. His eyes sparkled with curiosity, not malevolence. What does it mean? She asked. Mama Ezenwa's eyes bore into hers. He is a bridge between worlds. His head turns not in malice, but to see what others cannot. Anene's mind raced with thoughts. She thought of her runaway husband. Would he have accepted their son's strange gift? Would the neighbors whisper behind their backs? But then she looked at Obina, his laughter bubbling forth like a spring after rains. His head spun. Anene and the elders saw it. The wonder, the magic. Perhaps he was not cursed but blessed. Perhaps he was meant to change their lives, to challenge their understanding of the ordinary. And so she embraced her son's uniqueness. She sang him songs of ancient heroes and whispered tales of shape-shifting animals to him every night. As time passed on and the baby grew, Whispers of Ikechi's extraordinary ability swirled through the dusty streets of the village. The villagers responded in awe, some in fear and others in curiosity. Some people muttered prayers, fearing he was touched by dark spirits. Others gazed upon him with wonder. Visitors from neighboring villages began to trickle into Ogbunike, eager to witness the boy, whose head turned like the hands of time. They brought gifts of kola nuts and palm wine offerings to appease any spirits that may be residing in him. But it was the children who accepted Ikechi without reservation. They did not see a boy possessed by evil spirits, but a friend with a fascinating talent. At 6 years old, the children would gather around him, giggling as they asked him to perform his unique dance. Ikechi, always ready and eager to please, would spin his head and the children would clap and cheer, their laughter ringing through the air. At 10 years old, Ikechi could do remarkable things. His neck could extend up to 15 centimeters, and he could peer into hidden nooks and crannies. He could see the future and he could predict the weather, sensing the changes in the wind with each turn. And most importantly, he could see the troubles weighing on people's minds. After Ikechi turned 15, something remarkable happened. One fateful day, the skies grew heavy with the threat of a storm. The air was thick with tension, and the animals retreated into their shadows. Ikechi sat outside his house, feeling uneasy. He felt a strange sensation. A shiver ran down his spine. His head began to rotate slowly, a silent alarm that something was amiss. As his gaze swept across the horizon, the ground beneath his feet rumbled. He saw it then, a vision of the caves where a group of children often played, collapsing. Ikechi ran to the village square, his voice ringing above the gathering wind. The caves! He cried out. The caves will collapse! Thankfully, it was not a market day, so most of the villagers were at home. Recognizing the urgency in Ikechi's warning, the villagers sprang into action. They were able to evacuate the caves just in time as moments later a deafening roar echoed through the valley. Rocks tumbled down, sealing the entrance into the caves. Then there was calm. As the dust settled and the villagers started to emerge from their place of safety and counting their blessings, a mother's cry pierced the air. Her son Chike was missing. Panic spread like wildfire. Torches were lit as the search began. Ikechi, his heart heavy with responsibility, knew he had to help. He led the search party. His head turned as they walked through the valley, past the willows and the brook, until he stopped at the edge of a forest. There, hidden beneath a canopy of leaves, was a small opening, a forgotten passage into the caves. He led the search party through the narrow tunnel, guided by the faint echoes of a child's whimper. They crawled through the darkness, the walls closing in around them, until they emerged into a cave lit by the soft glow of fireflies. There, huddled against the wall, was Chike. His eyes were wild with fear, but when he saw Ikechi, a spark of hope flickered in his gaze. Ikechi reached out his hands, steady, and lifted him into his arms. The villagers hailed Ikechi as a hero, their songs filling the night with joy and relief as they danced around the fires. Ikechi was no longer a curiosity to be whispered about, but a hero, a guardian angel with a gift that transcended the ordinary. In recognition of Ikechi's bravery and his extraordinary gift that saved many lives, the king bestowed upon him the title of Ochemba, guardian of a land. The king gifted Ikechi a piece of fertile land, ensuring that he and his mother would always prosper. He also commissioned a special staff to be crafted for Ikechi, adorned with symbols of wisdom and foresight, to be carried as a mark of honor to remind all of the boy who could see beyond the visible world. The villagers revered him. His mother watched with pride as her son grew into his role, a beacon of hope in a world that often seemed too rigid and too confined. As days went by, Ikechi, despite his young age, had grown accustomed to the weight of his gift and the responsibilities it entailed. The absence of his father had been a silent shadow in his life, one that he had learned to live with but never fully understood. Ikechi had spoken to his mother about his perception of his father's return, and in his heart was full of conflicting emotions. For years, she had been both mother and father to Ikechi. The news of her husband's return after such a long absence brought a surge of old hurts and betrayal to the surface. Yet, it was tempered by the hope of reconciliation and the possibility of mending broken bonds. She felt anxiety about reopening wounds that had taken so long to heal, and she questioned the sincerity of her husband's intentions. However, seeing the optimism in Ikechi's eyes, the way he spoke of his father's return with a forgiving spirit, Anene found herself softening. She realized it was more about Ikechi and his future. Ultimately, her love for her son allowed her to rise above her own feelings of abandonment. She chose to support her son's decision to welcome his father back, embracing the chance for a new chapter in their lives. As the day drew near, Ikechi's heart was aflutter with anticipation and anxiety. There was the joy of possible reconnecting with a part of his identity that had been missing, the curiosity about the man who had contributed to his existence, and the anxiety about whether his father's return would alter the life he had built with his mother. When the news of Dibia's return spread through the village, people wondered why. The man who had once abandoned his family was coming back, drawn by the tales of his son's remarkable gift. As he walked into the village, heads turned and whispers followed. He was older, the lines of time drawn into his face, but his eyes searched eagerly for the son he left behind. Ikechi stood before him, not with anger or resentment, but with dignity of one who had grown beyond his years. His father fell to his knees, tears mingling with the dust as he begged for forgiveness. I heard of your deeds, my son, he said, his voice choked with emotion. I heard how you saved lives and became the pride of Obunike. Can you find it in your heart to forgive a foolish man who did not know the treasure he had? Ikechi's head turned, taking in the faces of the villagers, his mother's silent strength, and the man before him, broken and hopeful. He helped his father to his feet and embraced him. You are forgiven, for in your absence I have found my purpose. But now, let us heal the past and build a future together. The villagers watched, some with skepticism, others with tears of joy. Dibia, humbled by the love and forgiveness shown to him, vowed to dedicate his life to his family and the village that had nurtured his extraordinary son. What happens next? Was Dibia really a changed man with a contrite heart? Or was his return to exploit Anene and her son? Find out in the next story. Moral lesson: our God given gifts and talents are for a purpose. God has created each human different from the other. When you discover your talent, harness it, find your purpose, and fulfill your destiny.